On this episode of EFL Unfiltered, we meet a captain fantastic who wore the armband at every club he played for. A natural-born leader, he's now taken those skills into his coaching career. It's Kevin Nolan. Kev, good to see you in your local,
Cool, mate, yeah.
here in Nottingham. This place is now home, isn't it? Given where you've been around the country.
It's been a really good move for us, and yeah, it's one which makes me be able to go and do my work and know that my family and everybody else is there to support us, you know. To be in the heart of the country in terms of where Nottingham is, and then, you know, finding a place which has been so key for me was this place, you know, Lady Bay, and the Lady Bay pub we find ourselves in today is the hub of that sort of community. And
So were you here because of Notts County? Were you here before Notts County?
yeah, so it started with obviously getting the job at Notts and finding somewhere where you want to live, and where, you know, you feel that the family's going to enjoy. And I think the biggest thing is when you're looking at places, you want somewhere where you know that if you have to go away again, because you know the way this game is, yeah, you know the nature of the job, what you're doing, you know how it is that if it doesn't work out so well, that you want if you've got to be away for, you know, a couple of nights a week, or be away for, you know, long days and stuff, you want your family to feel, you know, safe. And when we found a place in around here, it was a great find, and I've enjoyed living here. So
That's, I suppose, the other side of what management is, isn't it? Because, I mean, as a player, and we've got so much to talk about for you as a footballer, your profession is precarious. Times that by 100 and it's management, because you can have a dodgy month as a manager and you're gone. Dodgy month as a player, you just need to get yourself back on track. So, given what it is to you as a professional, what's it like for the family? Because they'd have seen a fair bit of the ups, the downs, and everything in between.
yeah, well, it's quite funny actually you asked that, because the week after we moved into the house, I was sacked from Notts County after.
I didn't know that, right?
And the owner at the time had been trying to persuade my wife to move back from London for over 18 months. Yeah, so as soon as she made the call to come back, and we decided we're going to live in Notts.
Yeah.
I was sacked the week after. But again, it wasn't as bad as I thought, because the people who had met here, the people who had been, you know, we were all there for you for support, because it's really important when, you know, because you make friends right away, because you walk into a club and all of a sudden you've got 20 mates as a player, and then as a manager you make all the staff, all them type of people who you need to get to know. But for wives, it's totally different. You know, they're trying to just sort of cling on to what you know and everything else. But
And the kids, of course.
yeah, and then the kids, you know, and then it's the schools, and finding schools and local schools, and where they're going to be settled and everything else. So being here really helped, and being able to rely on people who you know you could trust is a massive thing. And then also when you're out of work, it's somewhere where, you know, when you do work for you guys, or when we get to clubs, or you want to get round and you want to watch games, it's such a great place to live.
What was that phone call like back to? Did you wait till you got home?
Oh no, I had to wait till
I like what you've done with the place, though.
No, mate,
You're gonna have to back.
let me tell you, we didn't even have all our furniture.
No.
So we were on mattresses on the floor. So because we ordered all new stuff for the house. It was a brand new house, so we ordered all the stuff.
Wait, it's not.
No, it's not. It wasn't funny when I walked in for us. Let me tell you, mate. My missus, she'd give me the look. What if looks would kill you? You know, I would have just dropped dead there. But look, it's the nature of the job, and I knew when I was getting into it what it was going to be like. But that's why you do it. You know, you do it for the highs. You certainly don't do it for the lows, because when the lows are there, you know, they're really bad, because you're sort of taking everything on your shoulders. But you know, there's never too many highs. If we win, you know, it's not too high. If you lose, there's not a big low. It's a very steady ship, and it was something which I thought, if I want to start building my career in the management, I could help them and they could help me in starting that. So it was really important, this step, after the 4.5 years what I had under David at West Ham, you know.
I mean, it's a coaching and managerial career that's certainly very much up and running. Let's go back to the player though, because the Kevin Nolan, the goal-scoring midfielder, the career is exceptional at the very highest level, getting teams promoted, being a leader pretty much everywhere you went. growing up in Liverpool in the 80s as a football mad youngster, let's box it off first. Red or blue?
I'm a red.
Oh, go. So things are going pretty well. But just give us a sense of that, because being similar ages and then working your way through wherever you find your football journey, the stereotypical Scouser that I came across as a young footballer, very confident, tremendous with the ball at the feet. I just ran around. But give us a taste of what that football mad city's like. Is it the cliche of everyone's out playing football, everybody wants to be a professional footballer?
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. It's the dream, isn't it? You know, because you work, you're in a working, man's environment, day in, day out. So it's like battle to survive, and you've got to keep your ball. It's and when you
that's coming over me.
Yeah, that's coming. Yeah. And when you lose, you take your ball home with you, so everyone else can. So you have that. But yeah, look, I loved it. I loved it. Every day was, it was just like, when you look back, and I look back with, I grew up in Toxteth, and everyone, when you say Toxteth, where you're from, you go Toxteth, they go, ooh, and you're like, oh, that's my home. Like, I loved every minute of it. And my dad was, went out to work at 6 o'clock every morning, come back, maybe 8 o'clock, but after 6 of an evening. Remember getting in, sometimes when you get in a bit too late, when, as soon as it starts going dark, lad, you get yourself back home from your mum, and they were always the rules and everything else. So yeah, it was great, mate. And every day was the same, football, straight after school, football in school, and just wanting to be that one who sort of trying to make it, and we know how hard it is, we've done it, but you've seen how many good players you play with in them years, and you think, he should have had a real good, or he had a real good chance, and they've sort of lost the way, or not got that opportunity, or when they've got the opportunity, because no matter what anyone says, it's taking opportunities, isn't it? So everyone's been at a professional club and they go, oh, yeah, he went off the rails. If he was on it, he gets an opportunity, and if he gets opportunity, you've got to take it, and someone's got to believe in you then to keep giving you them opportunities. So yeah, it's when I look back now, and I haven't spoken about it for a while, it's seems so long ago, seems so old now, mate. Seems so old, don't we? I mean, you're aging much better, but you're on the telly a lot more, aren't you? He's got the wavy hair now. The wavy hair, yeah. Is that just for men what you're using here now? Because it says, well,
just sitting close to you and you see your beard. Given what that city is and what's in that city from a footballing perspective, how does Bolton come into it then?
Yeah, well, it's crazy, because I'd left Liverpool and I was playing for the Liverpool schoolboys, so we used to play for our city boys, you know what I mean? We won the English trophy with the city boys, so we were very successful. But one of the lads who played for us was at Bolton at the time, and his dad used to drop me off, because he lived down the road from me. So after we played for the city, he dropped me off one evening, and I think we just trained, and he sort of asked me how I was getting on at Liverpool. Obviously the football club. I said, I haven't been there now for 2 or 3 months, and he literally slammed the brakes on, and the car was like, what? And I was like, yeah. I said, no, I left, I wasn't getting me opportunities what I thought.
You left,
they would come to a sort of an agreement with Stevie Highway, who was absolutely brilliant. He wrote me a great letter, which I still have to this day. My dad just spoke to him and just said, look, he's really not enjoying it no more, and he doesn't feel he's getting opportunities, what he should do, and everything else. And I probably was getting released at the end of the season, but I just sort of took it in. I wanted to go and play with my mates and just be happy and just enjoy football again, because I really wasn't enjoying it. And so I done that. And then he literally slammed brakes on moment and was like, I'm going to take you to Bolton.
Yeah.
And that's where it come from. I literally, and he just said, he rang up the manager at the time, and it was 2 lads. 2 fellas who were like dads of the footballers for Bolton, who were running it, as you well know. And he rang them up and said, I want to bring a player up who plays for our city boys to come up and trial and see how he gets on. And literally within about a week or 2, I had a phone call just saying, look, we'd like to sign you. And yeah, the rest, as we say, is sort of history.
And what age would that have been?
I would have been under 15s then.
So going towards that last year at school, where you then, when you do get to 16, you finish your GCSE, that's when you either go one way or the other, don't you?
Yeah.
So are you signed as a YT? Or
I signed as a sort of a schoolboy as then to get you to your 16, and then at the end of that sort of Christmas, it was a bit later then, you sort of find out now if you've got a scholar like January, I think it was about March, April when Martin Dobson, who was the academy director then, if you like, or the academy manager, called me in and offered me an academy. It was the first year of the academies.
I think I would say that potentially is, you talk about being a captain and being a leader of people. That comes from an innate self-confidence, which is not a cockiness, it's a self-confidence. And that, I mean, I'm no COD psychologist, but that sense of being completely loved and supported by your family, your parents, I think potentially that probably sets you up in that regard as an adult, doesn't it, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think well, in terms of how it does I think what it does is gives you the confidence to go and sort of portray yourself of who you are and what you are. And then, and have that confidence if it doesn't go so well, that you've always got the loved ones that you can always fall back on, if you like. So if you feel like you've got it wrong, you can go and open up, and they were always there, for them moments and that. And then you sort of try and grow with that, and that's, Bolton gave me the opportunity to do that, and I knew I always had the unbelievable support of my mum, my dad, my granddad, and my nan, all my family. They were all behind me, and then obviously my brother, who was 5 years younger, like, he just followed me everywhere as a player. So yeah, it's great looking back now, and seeing it and talking about it the way we are.
The story at Bolton's a wonderful one, because you talk about coming away from Liverpool, going to Bolton, and then what you were part of and what that club became again, because obviously historically huge part of the Football League, and with Sam Allardyce being such a huge part, I feel, of your career, that's the first time you come together. There's a wonderful story I'd heard about how he managed you early on. There was about a training session where you were not in the team and you weren't too happy about it, and the next minute Big Sam's got you up in his office as a young player, which I guess is a formative experience to stand you in good stead.
Yeah, well, look, I obviously I played I played 38 games in my first full season and we got promoted. We got promoted, played, and plus I wasn't in the team in the second leg of the West Brom game.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the team, but Robbie Elliott got knocked out we used to train every day.
Yeah.
Just the day of the game, just do our bits, and Robbie Elliott got knocked out and couldn't be on the bench. So I stepped in.
Yeah.
And then we ended up winning that game quite easily. And then obviously you have to wait for the final, and it was sort of a moment of, and again, opportunity.
Yeah.
This is the opportunity. Can you go and, is the gaffer going to give me the opportunity now to play in the playoff final? Because I've just shown him I can do it in the playoff semis. But sometimes you've not thought about it because you didn't know you were playing. So it's only a couple of hours, and then you're in the team, and then you play, and everything goes well. So it was like, is he going to stick with me? Has he got, the onions really to go, I'm going to give this kid a chance. And, I'm 18 years old, and you got Robbie Elliott, who was the record signing for Bolton at the time when he come, and he played me in the final, and we won the final, and and then you sort of go away, and I remember going back to my mum's house, and we had a big party afterwards and walking around, and I didn't drink at the time, I didn't have a drink, so everybody's there and they're all like really celebrating, and all I could think about is I need to now go and prove that I'm a Premier League player.
Yeah.
That's all I could think about. So I trained virtually every day that summer.
Yeah.
That summer, yeah, and I was ready to go, and then obviously I had the best ever you could have. We won 5-0.
Yeah.
I scored 2. And you then become an established figure for that year. You score all the goals you did, and then you get to the second year and you brought it, and then this is where it's coming. It's like, you sort of think, now, well, I've made it. I should be playing. Yeah, I should be playing. And then as soon as I got that, that's when the hammer come down, and it come down very, very hard. Let me tell you, it was one of those moments where everyone's done it. You feel like he's not playing me. Is he taking the Michael here? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm saying, and I'm like, he's playing him instead of me.
Yeah.
And then it sort of got to the point where I was like, yeah, and I was like, I'm going to go see him. I'm going to say this. I'm going to tell him. I'm going to have this.
Did you say that to any of the lads?
No, but all the lads, yeah, all the lads are like, but as I was walking, he said it as calm as you like. So it's like because I was going to go and knock on his door.
Yeah.
But he's gone, Nobby, and I've gone, yeah, as I'm just about to walk in the dressing room, come and see me when you're ready. Come and see me in 5 minutes. I went, oh yeah, no problem, all right, gaffer. So I've gone in, I'm going, right, that's it. getting changed, put me, the t-shirt on, took all my wet gear off, so I'm not sweaty walking into his office, and I'm like, I'm going to tell him this, I'm going to ask him this, I'm going to say this to him. Swear to God, mate, when I walked in, I was like, boom. Don't you ever, and I'm like, that's what I was coming in, Gaffer, to say sorry. Mate, totally bricked it. Totally, mate. I went I melted it, mate. Melted. And but that was it. And I was like, let me tell you. Anyway, and what did he say? He said, let me tell you, don't you ever do that to me again. One of my sessions, ever again. And I was like, no, that's what I was coming in to say sorry. And then he sort of laughed because he knew I wasn't. He thought that I thought I was he knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
I'd just back down right away, and then he went, you need to get this, and bang and all that, and get back on it, and
forward to it. Yeah, did you go back in? I told him that.
I walked back in. I know, I sort of saluted it, None of the lads, what did he say to you? I know, he just told me that, you just said to me, I'll be playing at the weekend.
Just keep an eye on you, lot. I mean, it's a way of going about it, which can make or break a play. And we'll talk about your coaching career a little bit later, because I don't think that would quite work in this tournament. But that relationship and this trust in you, the fact that he then makes you captain. I mean, you're still in your early 20s when he gives you the armband, because of, obviously, it was slightly circumstance-based with Gary Speed being out the side, injured. But we're talking about a team with some big players in, characters. That was a team full of men, established internationals, like Hierro Campo, people like JJ Okocha, of course, moving on. Yeah. But that sense of his trust in you, did you feel that from a very early age? Because
I think,
and the way that he even gave you the captaincy was a bit kind of off the cuff as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was crazy, mate. It was like, and I was on it. And Speedo, God rest his soul, like, and everything else. He was such a positive influence on me, and we were very, very tight. And JJ just had that 6 months where he kept us up, and he was absolutely
unplayable
for them 6 months, and then signed his new deal, and sort of went the other way, And I think he was expecting that he was going to go again, and it didn't quite work out. But for them 6 months, he was incredible. Come back in pre-season, and he was in and out and everything else, but he was the captain at the time, so, and then Speedo was the vice captain. But JJ was injured a lot then, and then Speedo ended up getting a little bit of a knock, so I just remember walking in, and I was captain, and I was like, and I was 22, and I was like, this is, but I felt like I belonged to be captain. I was never ever too afraid to say what I said in dressing rooms. I was always happy to be shut down and to be the one who took on a lot of responsibility. So when he gave me it, it sort of just gave me another bit of edge in the games, and I can handle this. And the biggest thing was, we were playing at Charlton. And Speedo was back in, and obviously I was expecting Speedo to get the armband back in, but the gaffer must have said to him, I'm going to keep Nobby as captain. He must have said it, because the way Speedo handled it, because if it was anybody else, but then I think, actually it was Gary Speed, so he can handle anything really, because whenever it was thrown at him, he was just classy and just, chilled and calm with every decision what goes thrown at him. So he, as I was like, you walk in, and we walked in, as we get to the ground, and obviously he must have pulled Speedo, as I said, but I always used to sit next to Speedo, because obviously 4'6", he was, they used to just do it in order. And the captain's armband was on my place, and I was looking at it, and he just went, you'll be all right, son. Really? Speedo just tapped me on the back and went, you'll be all right, son. And I was like, really? I said, and he was like, yeah, you'll be good, mate, don't worry. Amazing. Yeah, and like, he gave me that confidence again, and we went and beat Charlton that day, and I scored, and it was just like, wow, you know what I mean? But for that, but if, for an older professional, sometimes they would have reacted the wrong way, and they could have then probably gone, teacher's pet, daddy's boy, whatever it is, like, and plus, because when we come through, but to have that and know that I had him on my side, it just gave me that extra little bit of, confidence, and I can go and do this, and I did, and then, I think about a week or two later, he pulled me in the office, the gaffer, and said, I'm going to make you captain. Yeah. And it was halfway through the season, so he took the captaincy off JJ for...
It's a big statement in itself.
Yeah, it was, and again, Like JJ just handled it brilliantly. And I think it was just because of the environment we created within both areas.
On yourself and your
Yeah. Yeah, maybe, yeah. Yeah, I've never thought of it that way, actually. But it was just, what we created and what we wanted to be. And he wanted me to sort of lead that. And I think he could trust me enough, which he did. He did go on to do that. And he says, on all the stuff, I let Nobby manage the changing room, and I managed the rest of the building, and if there was anything which is, I always thought, this is a bit too much, this is not captain stuff, the manager would always know about it, but if there's things I could sort out, it just took a lot of, the unnecessary stuff what you need. And so, I took that responsibility on, and it was a fantastic time for me.
Just give us a sense of what Gary was like, because I think I must have possibly played against it. What I found myself in that position a fair bit doing is because it's just on the periphery watching all these wonderful players get them out of the job. And I've had people that I know that have been his teammate and say just the loveliest things about him. And it feels like yesterday, but it also feels like a long time ago now, obviously since he passed. And the legacy of the man and the person that he was feels like it just lives on and on and on, because the physical's not there, but the man, the actual kind of light that he had is always going to be there.
Yeah, I think it's because, excuse me, I think it's because, I carried his coffin, so it was a very big thing for me as well, because I was really, with his mum and dad, I was really close to them as well, and his wife Louise and everything else. So it was a real tough time for me when getting that phone call and hearing it. So when we do speak about him, I always try and keep everything really positive, because and I've got to, because that's all I see him in, because he was brilliant at what he done. The way his demeanour, everything, the way he looked after people, the way he was with his boys and everything else, it was just incredible. And for what's happened, I just can't believe what's happened. But he was a fantastic footballer, but the way he looked after himself, he was probably one of the first and he said he got it off Gordon Strachan, so he was one of the first I seen who we used to do all the outer off the field stuff to keep him ready, because we got Speedo, I think, when he was 34, 35, and we got like another 3 or 4 years out of him. It was incredible, Europe and getting to latter end of stages of trophies and everything else, and then in Europe and everything else, he was just excellent with everything he'd done. And to not be able to ring him now is probably my biggest thing, which I don't know if it's not regret. It's just like, I wish I was able to call him at moments when you go through them moments, because I believe, he started out his career as a coach and manager at Sheffield United, and then obviously Wales. And he changed Wales. You look at Wales now, he changed everything, and that's why they've got the success they've had, and they've gone because of the professionalism, what he was. He put on a nation, and it was his nation, and one he loved. But the biggest compliments I can give Gary is that I used to hate cricket, right? I hated it at school and everything else. I would refuse to play it in school and everything else. But he made me love it. And that 2005 Ashes did help him, don't get me wrong. But he told me how to play it. He was the one who was sort of, and we ended up, me and him, just sitting there after we had lunch and everything else, after training and after we'd done the gym, we'd sit there and lunch, and then we'd just sit there for a couple of hours, and he'd go through all the shots and everything else and what he's looking at and how he's bowling it. And it just made me sort of go, okay, I can understand it a bit now. I just thought this fella just runs and just throws it down and he hits it. It's like there's so much more technicality to it and everything else. So yeah, I've got to give him that. So that's how much I had respect for him, because I actually listened to him talk to me about cricket.
I mean, we're not too far from Trent Bridge, so you need to know what he tells him when he
exactly. Yeah.
To you moving away from Bolton, that sense of being a homegrown player, of coming through the ranks, you are viewed in a slightly different way, aren't you? You set your standards, and if you're not at those standards every single minute of every single game, it's one of their own that gets the fingers kind of pointed at. Was that? Would that have happened towards the end of being at Bolton, that you needed to get away and kind of freshen things for yourself more than anyone?
I think, well, yeah, I think because obviously the change of manager, Sam walking away, was a big moment for me. And I remember him sort of telling me, you know, we used to train sometimes in, you know, when we didn't have the 4G. So you go to a JJB centre or something like that when you're training the 4G there. And he said to me, jump in my car on the way back, want to have a chat with you. So I was like, yeah, no problem, which was quite normally, he grabbed me in, the lads or whatever. So I just thought it was a normal chat. And I remember we're just coming up to, you know, you come off the motorway, and you come onto the roundabout and you see the Reebok, going back to the Reebok. So as you go, and he said, yeah, I'm going to leave at the end of the season. And I was like, what? Like, what? No, you can't. And he's like, in fact, I think I'm going to do it right away, but I wanted to tell you because I didn't want you hearing it once I'd spoken to the chairman. And I knew then it was going to be tough to find a replacement, and I knew then because I think he just thought he got to the end of his tether of trying to push the club to the next level, because we were always in and around them Champions League spots come January, February, and always had to fade off, and we ended up in the Europa League, and which was obviously a great achievement from everybody outside, but he wanted the Champions League, he wanted to put Bolton on the map again, and he wanted a little bit of extra money in that January window, and he was never able to get it. So I think he just got to the end of his tether. And when he told me that, it was like, wow. So I knew it was going to be difficult for me because I was his man, you know. So whoever was coming in, it was going to be difficult. And it ended up being Sammy Lee. And he was obviously the assistant. Now I love Sammy. Sammy Lee was different than everything else. And he was a total different, you know, little Sam, a big Sam, as do you know, at the time. But Sammy, you know, obviously tried to keep it straight, but then come in and then try to change a lot, which I thought was a bit too soon. But what happened is that we lost Sammy as the one pushing it every day.
Yeah.
You know, so Sam was because you know, you would work with him at England, and he would never ever let you, you know, standards and everything else, and we lost that. So because obviously he'd become the manager, so we lost that, and that's where I thought the edge. So when I spoke to him, you know, and because we were having a bit of a tough time, as you say, fans then point the finger at all the main men, and, you know, if you're the captain, you get it. And I was, you know, but I could handle that, and I knew that would stay up, and I knew that we'd be all right. But it come to the time we got back Gary Megson in, and then he wasn't sort of the favoured appointment, but Gary was great. I must admit, and he you know, and I helped him a lot. You helped him a lot when he first come in to get to know the lads. Sort of, I was sort of like it, not as assistant if you like, but sort of like a coach who he could rely on and want. And then he has to sort of started bringing his players in. But I used to have a thing with Sam was whenever we, at the end of a game, you know, like we'd go at it, Sam would always give us 5 minutes or whatever. And so if there's any fighting or whatever, then he'd come in and go, put your toys away now and listen to the real stuff, you know. So it was like one of them. And I literally, after we conceded really late on against Blackburn, and I'd gone, in the dressing room, I was raging, like giving it to the lads, and everyone was just sitting there anyway. And then, and that was like on the 30th of January or something like that.
Right.
It was like a Tuesday night, and I think the Wednesday was the last day of the window. And I give it to the lads and everything. Anyway, Barry Megson went, well, that's enough said, let's go. But I didn't know I'd upset Gary at the time.
Right, okay.
Because obviously I was angry and everything else. I didn't know I'd upset Gary and his assistant, Chris Evans, who would come in. But basically, Chris come in to the hotel and said to my agent, Kevin needs to go if we need to take the club on. What my agent told me anyway, and I believe what he said because he's a very good friend and very close pal of mine. Because I didn't want to leave Bolton. But what he'd done, he'd already set it up that Joey Barn had just fractured his foot.
Right, okay.
So he'd already set it up that I had an opportunity to go to Newcastle. So I was like, do I really want to go? And he went, well, this has been said and all that. So I don't know if he'd done it to push me.
Yeah.
But I went, okay, yeah, fair enough, let's do it. Didn't realise how far Newcastle was, mate. I moved back to Liverpool, and I got in the car, got in the car, and I was like, and my missus is going to a concert that night. I just bought her for Christmas. She was going to the Pussycat Dolls concert with all her friends. I bought her a box for Christmas to go and watch them. And I'm like, I've just been sold to Newcastle. And she's like, and I'm like packing a bag, and she's like, oh, where are you going now? I'm going up to Newcastle to sign. And she's like, what? So she's like as I'm walking down the stairs, she's shouting, and then like she's out the window going, "Where you going?" And I'm like, "I'm going to New." We've just had our Jasmine is only like a baby running around, you know, and like all the girls are there, they're all getting ready, they're all going out.
They're literally going out that night.
They're going out that night, and here's me jumping in the car with my brother and my dad to take me up to Newcastle. And I just started driving off, and she's like ringing me. So what do you mean you're going to Newcastle? And I'm like, I'm signing for Newcastle. And she was like, oh my God. So yeah, anyway, I went up to Newcastle, and as I was on my way, obviously we gave pal, got him speed rings me, and he's going, "Ooh, I'm not too sure, you know."
Is that what he said?
So I'm like, "Speedo, I've already said, yeah, mate, you can't say it." And he went, No, I don't think it's the right one. He said it's in a bad place there, because obviously they all knew, you know, obviously Al was still up in the turn, he was still good mates with Darpo, who I become really good friends with. Then, you know, they obviously Shay and all that, they were all still very pally with, and Rob Lee and everybody, you know, they were all very close muckers. And I went, "Look, Speedo, I think I'm done at Bolton and I need a new challenge myself." I said, "So it is what it is. If it fails, I'll take it on my chin, you know." He was like, "Yeah, okay, no, be lad." He said, "Well, why don't you go to Sheffield instead?"
Too late, mate. Would have been a bit closer, though, to be fair. But I mean, that's that. It's a huge football club.
Yeah, Bolton's
a huge football club. West Ham, of course, is a huge football club.
Well, what we've been doing with Bolton, we've been incredible, you know what I mean? And it felt like, even though we were in this, like, we were only 28,000, it felt like, you know, it was electric every week. It was, you know, it felt like we were in a big, massive club. You know, I didn't realise until I walked out at St. James's Park, and then it's like, wow. You know, when you walk, you know, I played there.
Yeah.
But when you walk up at the top where you sign and everything else, and you walk out and you go
down,
and you look down, you're like, Jesus, you know, it's like, it's a total different entity, and you're like, wow. And I knew then that, you know, it was a right move, maybe at the wrong time, but the right move for me. And I was like, I wanted to make it succeed, you know, I wanted to make a success of it, and I feel I did that. You know, I left there in a great place. What a city. What, you know, again, you know, found a place where I lived, and sort of a bit different to here, you know, where you're more on your own, you know, in more, you know, Darris is a bit different, where you had a community, but, you know, you had to walk for everything and anything else. So, you know, that's where you learn them little bits, for, you know, so that it makes life moving for your family and especially your wife, because, you know, as they say, happy wife, happy life, you know. And as you know, it's a very true comment. So, you know, that they're the moments where you learn as well as you're going along. But I didn't realise, like, you know, 3.5 hours Newcastle was, you know, because they don't ever take it in.
So you already think you're up north, beating Bolton today, or Liverpool. It can't be that much further. That what it was as well. I mean, given the twists and turns of being at Newcastle, obviously out of the Premier League, back in the Premier League, your first Premier League hat-trick against Sunderland. I mean, that's utterly ridiculous. I mean, just that alone would have secured your legendary status, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and it does, because whenever that's all they ever talk about. They talk about that and the chicken dance, because that's the first two things that come to the, you know, any Geordie, and like you'd even see young lads now, even kids, who the dads go, "This is Kevin Nolan." They look at you and they're like, "Oh, that's him.
Yeah,
I scored the hat-trick." You know, it's like it's unbelievable. But you know, they love what they show you there, and it's everyone. Which I mean, I've never known anything like it. It's the closest thing what I've seen to, like, you know, with Liverpool, you've got Liverpool and Everton, Liverpool, and you either love one or the other. And you know, me now, I love them both because I'm away and I can say that. And I want them both to do well, especially because David's gone back here now. So you want them. So it's great to see that they're going to be secure. They're going into a lovely new stadium, and I want to see them succeed as well as watching Liverpool still. Because when we were younger, I couldn't afford to go to the game, so we never ever seen them. We only seen a little bit. So it was more players when I was growing up. I was never ever like a staunch Liverpool fan the way all my friends are who went to the game and everything else, because I was playing all the time.
Yeah.
So now, you know, when you go to Newcastle, there's nothing else. It's just the football club, and it's this big massive stadium in the middle of the city where everyone loves going. It's like their church, and that's the, you know, and if you get the chance to play there, you've got to give it everything. And I just loved everything about it. I loved all that about it. I loved you know, walking in on that Derby Day week. I walked into the post office, and the lady behind the counters, like, I think she must have been, she was over 70. And she's going, "Make sure you beat them on Saturday." You know, it's like, you're like, what?
Pointed.
Yeah. Like, sort of, no, it's more of a demand. It's not, you know, it's like, I'm demanding you to make sure you do it. We're like asking, it's like, I'm telling you, you do it. So, yeah, it's incredible, mate. It's incredible. And after 2 years of success, what we did, you know, the way we bounced back, because there was a lot of stuff going off the field and everything else. And to get relegated, and we sort of cleared out all the people who didn't want to be there, which is great. And then to come back with the way we did, and I really believed we were building something. And if Mike would have sort of backed that with us, you know, we had a real good team, you know, because obviously we sold Andy in January, and I went in at the end of the season. But you know, we had Joey. We brought in Czech Tiote, you know, another, you know, real close pal of mine who's sadly passed away. It's like, I thought we were getting somewhere, and with another few additions, I thought we could then start breaking into that, you know, European, because I believe that, you know, with the crowd and everything there and getting there, you can start building that momentum. And they did do it, didn't they? Because they done under Ireland when I left. You know, they brought a lot of lads from France and African lads who really took it to, you know, a real good level. Graham Carr's got a lot, you know, lot of things with that. He's done a lot of work. Who's now working with me. He's on the board at Northampton, you know. So yeah, you know, it's mad, you know, the way you go full circle, as you say. But yeah, there were moments where, you know, I thought, you know, when we sold Andy, it was like a massive thing. We were like, but it was massive money for the club, and that's what, you know, Mike wanted to sell the club. There was, you know, he wanted to go the other way, and I was just thinking, if someone could get hold of this club now, it could go like that, and it could rock it. Unfortunately, I just missed it by
You said it on the way. And I suppose if Newcastle's super north, then your next port call being super south down in London with West Ham. And again, that mission being a bit of a rebuild, a situation to get out of, a boss that you know very, very well, and the expectation that comes with a season that kind of the crowning glory being the playoff final. I mean, being this series that we've done, all things EFL, and knowing what the playoffs are and being involved in covering them, it's just the most amazing day. Yeah. But you have to win.
You have to win it.
And you have to win it. You have to win it.
I've got it twice. Yeah. And I'd tell you, it was better than winning the league.
Was it?
It was better than winning the league, yeah. And we've done it with Newcastle, and we enjoyed it, and it was great. But that day, what you go through, the emotions, all that type of stuff, and to do it the way we did it, you know, and I'd done it when I was 18, and then to do it when I did, you know, 10 years later with Newcastle, basically, was with West Ham, was incredible. Like, and because that was the pressure, that was the biggest pressure, because I'd gone there, you know, sort of marquee signing. Scotty P was going over to Tottenham, so I'd gone in and sort of took the captaincy off him
straight away.
I was named as the club captain right away and everything else, and you know, I'd had probably my best season at Newcastle, 12 goals. Went and got an op, and as I was getting an op, I was supposed to be signing a new deal, and then they took the deal off the thing. So that's why it all sort of transpired that I went to West Ham, because they took the deal off. I still had 2 years left, and I wanted to extend it for another 2, but they took the deal away. And then I got a phone call, would you like to go to West Ham with Sam's going to be the new manager? And I just said yes. We were in Dubai with Steve Harper, who was, and his wife.
All your Newcastle mates.
All my Newcastle mates. And I've gone to my agent, or my mate, I should say, who's like used to help me with the deals. Yeah, I'll go. But not even thinking to ask me missus again.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, this is the deal, bang, 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 bang. And I've gone, yeah.
She's very understanding.
5-year deal. So I was like, well, I'm trying to convince her, and she's just like, I'm not going to West Ham. And I'm going, you are? And we're having this big, and Harpo's got my kids in the pool and everything, started to take them away while I started
covering the rear. Mum and Dad are just having a chat.
Come on, kids, come in the pool, you know. But like, yeah, obviously, again, she was understanding in the end, but it took us a bit of a while to find somewhere. But we did, and we've got real good friends down in London now, and she loves going back down there. And, we're 2 hours away. So it's brilliant. She can just jump, round the corner from the train station. As you just said, Trent Bridge is just there. So we go and watch the cricket in the 2020 sometimes on the Friday night. You've got Forest just over there where my lad goes train and watches the game, and ball boys most games. So she's built, everything's brilliant now. It just feels like it's all settling in. But yeah, getting down there and then, finding a house, all that type of stuff and doing that. But that first year, going into them playoffs, that's the biggest one where I thought, we've got to win this. I've got to win this. This is the one I've got to win. And I think when you actually look back and you see the pictures of me actually throwing the cup around, like you could see how much adrenaline's going through my body, because
is it relief more than anything?
More relief.
Is it?
It was relief, mate, that we've done it. And the way we've done it, in the 89th minute, 90th minute, It was just incredible. It was incredible because the game was really poor on our behalf, really, to be honest. But we had that team who could, you know, if you played bad on the day, you can still win. You know, and we had that mentality, and it was about having that. You know, I remember, you know, because I just hit the bar about 10 minutes earlier. And I thought that was exactly
the inside of the foot.
and he just gets a touch on it, actually.
Nolan special.
And I think if he doesn't get the touch, it might just go underneath it. I think I might just crash the bar and go in a bit of a yaboa, like when I'm like, that's how I like to think of it. But he got a nice little touch on it. But then when I seen that ball go in the back of the net, and the relief, I actually run the other way because that's where all my family were.
Yeah.
They were in a boxing corner, and I actually run away from. I just run to them because, you know, they knew how much that moment meant. And yeah, we had some incredible years. Then, you know, getting them back and then securing the safety the way we did was good. And the chance to work with Sam again and build something, which again I thought we were doing, and then it all come crashing down at that time.
I mean, the next protocol obviously leads you into a coaching career, and that's what we're going to chat about. But just to round off the playing side of it, any kind of, because it not necessarily regrets because it wasn't your choice, but frustration from an international point of view. Goal scoring midfielder in the Premier League.
Yeah,
you know, pretty decent tally season on season.
Yeah,
doesn't transpire into.
I'll tell you where the frustration comes, mate, is that when I see them now, when I've seen the ex-coaches and the ex-managers, and I won't name them, but they know who they are. They've gone, yeah, I should have called you up. You deserve to have.
10 years like,
and I'm like, I don't really need to hear that now. You know what I mean? Like, I was never bothered at the time, but when I look back, I feel like I should have been given an opportunity. I should have been given that opportunity to go and try and perform at that level. I never thought I really did. And I think it was because I was Sam's man, I was Bolton. It was like, oh yeah, and we, you know, when we look back now as players and coaches and everybody else, and you go, that was an incredible team. But at the time, I don't think we were getting the credit where we deserved. If you know what I mean, everything was all Man United, it was all Arsenal, it was all Chelsea. You know, it was all them teams. Which, you know, don't get me wrong, Liverpool. Don't get me wrong, they're all incredible teams. But I never ever thought Bolton got the credit it deserved when we were in the moment, you know, and that's what we always thought we were fighting against. And I think that probably made us better, if you like.
It was against the world type vibe. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's certainly one that I saw kind of, when you're looking at judging players, it was a head scratcher with regards to that. But obviously that hopefully makes you a better coach to deal with players further down the line. Right, considering we're in a pub, Kev, I've just seen a dartboard in the corner. I've got a little challenge for you.
Okay.
Right, Kev, the challenge that I am going to set you is to put a combined 11 out from the footballing world of Kevin Nolan, or players that you've either played with or now since managed, via the medium of dart.
That's asking me to do two things at once here, Fritz.
Can you think?
You know what I'm like?
Yeah, it's very true. We're going to start from the goalkeeper, work away.
Goalkeeper. Okay, so goalkeeper, I'll probably, you know, playing. I think the biggest one would be Yushi if I was doing the playing side of it.
So we go from there. What formation are we going for?
Well, I'll probably go for my favourite, which is 4-2-3-1.
Okay.
Which is what I played for most of my career.
Yeah.
My right back, I've got to go with a really good pal of mine, Joey O'Brien.
Yes.
And so for him to play the way he played with his knee, he had a real, you know, he had to manage his knee really well.
Mm-hmm.
And his professionalism. Nicky Hunt was another one who I played with, but I think Joey just pips him because I played with him at West Ham as well.
Yeah.
My left back, one I actually played with and coached, would be Cresswell.
Right, okay.
Aaron Cresswell. Obviously a Scouser, you've got to put a Scouser in there as well.
So go on then, centre halves.
Centre halves, oh, well, this is where it all starts getting a bit tricky, doesn't it? You know, because I'd probably say, and I didn't really want to put him in there, but because we were talking about him earlier, we've got to go for Ginge, you know. Ginge was a great for us. And I'll probably go back to my old captain in Bolton, Gudny Bergson.
Yes.
Gudny Bergson was, you know, very underrated, not by anybody in Bolton. And I played with some fantastic centre-halves all through my career.
So, solid defence to start with.
Yeah.
Who's in midfield?
Going into midfield, well, none other than Declan Rice, you know, to be.
He's all right, I presume. Yeah.
You know, I mean, listen, what the biggest compliment I can give him, Prutz, and you'll probably see it, is that he. I mean,
than I have.
But he is the closest thing I've seen to Steven Gerrard.
Really, that good?
Yeah, I thought, you know, to have the opportunity to be able to sort of coach him and help him and try and make him a better player and show him a few bits what you put on, because he had everything. He could do everything. So he's certainly one who you put in as one of those two. Another one who I probably put in, who I really enjoyed playing with, and we played as a two a lot at Newcastle, was Cheick. Spoke about him earlier on in the programme.
Wonderful player.
Yeah, he's a great player, and he just used to say to me, "Kevin, brother, you just go," and used to just give me the license to be able to go.
Great team so far, mate.
Yeah. And then we'll go to the right side of the three.
Yeah.
So we were playing a 4-2-3-1, and none other than the captain who's there at the moment, Jared Bowen, fantastic player. The one who I'm going to put on the opposite side, someone who's a bit different, and we used to call him. He was known as the Snake.
They were a good nickname.
No, but he called himself because he used to slither in and out. That's what he said, slither through defences. That's what his nickname was. Yes, yeah. But he'd come and showed us something different.
Yeah. So coming then in between those two, then from what you're telling me, 4-2-3. Yeah, go on in between those two. Yeah.
Well, none other than he's so good. They name them twice. They say, don't they? It's JJ Okocha. And I've got to put him in the 10 because them 6 months, I don't think I've played with a player in them 6 months who had an impact on a team as much as he did.
Yeah.
He was absolutely excellent. Kept us up virtually on his own, really. The number 9s, I mean, the one I probably played off the best was probably Andy Carroll. Our record speaks for itself.
Yeah.
So if I was to probably if I was going to be the 10, it'd definitely be Andy.
Yeah.
I've also got to mention, obviously, Big Kev Davis, the amount of time we played together and how successful we were. But if we're looking for one, number 9, it's probably Nico and Elka. But yeah, I think Nico probably Andy will definitely call me. But as I said, because I'm not playing, I'm going to go with Nico and Elka then.
And would you fancy your chances at managing that lot, keeping him in check?
Oh yeah, I mean, one thing I will say about them all is that they're all good lads, as well. And I really enjoy playing with them, and because I captain probably majority of them, or I coached them.
Yeah.
To be someone. Oh, I'd love to have that team.
So the theme that we've chatted about, captain at every place you've been to, the Orient situation or job opportunity comes up. So then you take your first step. We're sat here in Nottingham, having managed Notts County, obviously Northampton and right now, and then a wonderful coaching spell at West Ham. Coaching must have always been on the cards, surely.
It wasn't. It was more management. Yeah, I wanted to be a manager. I didn't think
in the old school sense of being a manager.
Yeah, well, not even that. It was just sort of a head coach. I didn't ever see myself sort of working under someone. I wanted to be the one who was the one making the main decisions and everything else. So even if I wanted, if they wanted that head coach sort of role, it was, I'm willing to work with someone, but just being involved in the environment and making them tough decisions on players and who, and you given the chance to. So when the opportunity come up, I sort of went and met David, and it was me who sort of preempted it because I knew, it was West Ham. I was out of the game and I was thinking that could be a really good opportunity to go and learn off one of the main men who's been in and around the game for
such a long time,
unbelievable amount of time, and done the job he's done. Because I knew that, he wasn't able to bring in his last crew he had, so he was looking for people to bring in. So for him to give me the opportunity, and then for me to sort of stay there the whole time with him, and a lot of coaches leave in the time, I can't thank him enough. And I didn't realise at the time, but I didn't realise how much I was sort of learning off him, if you know what I mean, when I was actually in it, because you sort of like, oh, I wouldn't do it that way. And you have your own opinion as a coach, and don't get me wrong, there's times when I didn't agree with what he was doing but and
would you say that to him?
Yeah, you give your opinion, because he was, he's big enough and he wants you to do that. And if you and you want your coaches to do that, I wouldn't want my coaches to just be all yes men and thinking I know it all, because I don't. You've got to learn and everything else. And I think he was the one who wanted to sort of push everybody, and he pushed everyone to the limit every day. And, it was about us being better. And that's why we achieved what we achieved, because he was at the helm pushing it, and pushing the players to the limits, which they never thought probably they could achieve at that point. So to have that opportunity was unbelievable. And then to do it at West Ham, and what we've done, and to win the trophy and everything else. And I feel like we sort of, when I look back now, I feel like we fell short, because the Frankfurt game, I thought that was well within our grasp, and we just didn't turn up for the semi-finals. And when we got into the Conference League the next year, I said right away to the staff, we'll win this year.
Yeah.
because I had that
You felt
confidence.
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
I just felt like the lads, and I think that's why it sort of hindered the Premier League, because I felt the lads sort of felt they'd left themselves down. Because they'd gone at it in the league, but also they got to semi-finals of the Europa League, and the nights were absolutely electric there. You know, there was the best night that I've seen at the London Stadium. You know, they were the main nights. Whereas, you know, in the Premier League, it was sort of started becoming, you know, the second nature to the Europe, if you like. And but you know, David was like, no, we can't. We've got to, you know, remain. And that's the, you know, and that's the will and the drive and the desire, and that's why he's been at the top for so long. So that's why you can never sit still. And yeah, and I feel that's why he's gone into Everton and just done what he's done. He's got Alan now, who's like a key ally for him. You know, Alan Irvine he is a tremendous coach, tremendous man to have beside you, and you know, as someone who, you know I can pick up the phone to, and you get proper sound advice off him, and
Honesty as well.
and then obviously Billy with him now, who I work with. He obviously took Charlie in this with Charlie, so he builds himself around with good people around him, and I think that's what he done at West Ham, and that's why he was able to sort of get the success he deserves, and I really believe he could do that with Everton as well.
What's sweeter, the win at Wembley, or being part of the coaching staff that wins in Prague?
I think because it was the relief and everything else around it, I think that probably just tips it for me, because I was the one walking up them stairs and sort of lashing out, and like that trophy. I don't know. You probably have picked it up. It is very heavy, and you just watch the way I throw that around. But you know, I'm throwing it around like it's a 5K dumbbell. You're going to be, and it's not. So. I think that probably just tips it.
And obviously, given where you are now with Northampton Town, I can tell you're delighted to be back in amongst the madhouse, which is what I get when I speak to these managers. Itchy feet when they're away from it, and then obviously a hell of a lot to deal with when they're back into it. What have you found? What are the aims? What's the setup like? You talk about good owners and hopefully picking good owners, and it seems you're happy with that right now.
Yeah, I must admit, you know, and you know, Colin, who I brought in, who's been my assistant, he's you know, had a lot to do with Northampton over the last few years, so knows them really well. So lots of good chats with him and big chats with him when I sort of put myself forward for the job. And then, you know, sort of having a chat with the owners and even you know Jim Rosenthal, you know, he's part of the board, and Kelvin, who's the chairman, you know, just getting a real good feel for them. And you know, it was sort of just before Christmas. It was the Friday. We had a chat on FaceTime. So I hadn't met them before I took the job, but you know, you sort of knew about them. You know, they're very stable, and the job was just to keep them up. You know, and you know, to keep them up, and because it's a club which is, you know, relatively been one which is yo-yoed out of League One and gone back to League Two, got itself back up in and around it, and what we want to do now is stabilise as a League One club, and that's why I thought it is a real good opportunity for me. You know, I really believe in my capabilities to be able to do that, and then also to sustain it, you know, and to try and make us better and climb up the league, so that we're not in these moments at this time next season and everything else. So it was a real good project in my eyes. It was, you know, it's close to home, so I get to come home every night to my family, to eat with my kids, which was another important factor after being away for 4.5 years. And you know, I get the chance to come and see me now, you know, because as much as Sonny loves football and everything else, and my daughter did, you know, they can't really remember me playing career, you know, so now they're seeing in the manager, you can, you know, they're getting the feel of what I was like as a player. So it's a great club, you know. It's again, you know, I talk about community around here, you know, going there, it's very much community-based club, and you know, really lovely stadium, which has just opened a new stand and everything else. So off the field, they're doing lots of stuff, and you know, training ground wise, you know, we're just trying to make that better, you know, to make it more a good working environment for the lads and everything else. So yeah, just trying to push the boundaries with the owners, and you know, see how much you can get out to do. And that's what it is. Yeah, but you know, but not being too excessive and silly and asking for, you know, he's like, I don't want you coming thinking that we're going to be a Premier League club and everything else. I was like, no, I understand. You know, I understand football and where we're at. You know, I remember the first days and Bolton and you know the porter cabins and everything else. So and what we all would remember. So I said, you know, as much as, you know, I know where I've come from and everything else and what I've done and where I've played, I understand, you know, what we've got to do to you know, to build clubs and do it and be successful, you know, behind the scenes. So I think it's a really good match at the minute. And, you know, Kelvin is great. You know, you know, he's there supportive no matter what. You know, a lovely supportive text before games.
Yeah.
Always one after the games, you know, no matter what, you know, and you know, never too high when we win and never too low when we lose. So yeah, it's been a great start.
Yeah.
And I'm really pleased with, you know, that I've been given the opportunity, and hopefully I'll repay them in the number of years I'll stay.
Sounds a bit twee, but you seem very happy. Are there anything regretful that sticks in your mind? Any what ifs?
No, I think the biggest, probably when I look back now, I probably shouldn't have left West Ham. I should have stayed and sort of not fall from my position, because you know, me and Slav, we had a real good conversation, and in my eyes, I just wanted to go and play football, and I had something which I thought was all set up, ready to go, and it didn't sort of work out. I'd already played for West Ham, so that's why I ended up training with Orient then. And then, you know, Ian ended at the time, you know, he was the manager doing really well, and said, you know, come in and train with us, and then sort of tried to get me to sign. But, you know what, as I learned, it was a very volatile place to sort of work and everything else. Unfortunately, Ian lost his job, and then I was sort of there, and they were like, you know, do you want to take over? And I sort of went into it, not, you know, unknowingly thinking, well, yeah, I could do that. And then I sort of regret that. It was too early. I think I could have got 3 or 4, you know, sort of prolonged my career a bit longer and done it, you know, sort of maybe a step down, like the way that Gary Speed done it, you know, when he went to Sheffield United later after us and played in the Champ. And then I thought, you know, I think I should have done that. You know, I had opportunities to go to France, I had opportunities to go to Turkey, and I sort of, bottled it, like, so like now I would jump at it.
Benefit of hindsight.
Yeah, of course. And look, it's probably not a regret. It's just probably when you get a bit older, you think I should have maybe took that opportunity and seen what it is and grasped it, you know.
And if Mrs. Nolan thought Newcastle was a fair way away, Turkey's...
I think that's what it was, right? I think I asked her, shall we go to Turkey? She was like, no, we are.
But 2 weeks there, summer. Yeah, of course. No to live and work. But finally, playing or managing, which do you prefer? Or is it a time of life?
I think, you know, I hope you agree with me. When like football is finished, everyone goes, do you miss it?
Yeah.
And you don't, do you?
No.
I know
exactly
many people,
what you mean.
like, and you don't, because you know you can't do it at that level no more. You're like looking at it going, wow, you know, like, and it is that moment. But I must admit, I love the fact that now I'm back on the touchline and, you know, making the decisions and doing all the bits I'm doing. And, you know, it gives you it gets you back to where them nights, you know, when you know, you have them little butterflies, you know, getting to the games and stuff like that. I really enjoy being part of it and doing it and being part of it week in, week out, and on the day-to-day, you know, and everything.
It's in your blood, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what it is, mate, yeah. And I think, you know, all of us, we all have that little bit of thing, you know, in you. You know, I'm still playing a bit of vet football, trying to keep myself fit, you know, so that I don't go, you know, 4 stone overweight. I can keep it to 2, you know? You know, so...
I'm talking to myself, Kev. It's what I sit in the car and think about all the time.
So... that's it. Man. I think you know, and you just always have that little bit in you, don't you? And I think I don't think I can marry the two, but if I could go back to being 18 again and working, I think there'd be a lot of differences, you know, and now. But I don't want to change that now. I want to just look forward to now, and hopefully this is a start of, you know, a young Kevin Nolan manager and a managerial career, and it's the next phase of my chapter. Yeah.
I suppose, yeah, if we could all throw it back to their 18, we probably would do, but that's a different chat entirely. Kev, it's been a pleasure, mate, and I think the great thing is, because we've been getting on like a house and fight, at least in my opinion, we've been chatting that long that I think it's just about time for a pint, and you're like, my treat.
Come on, mate. Cheers.